out here, y'all, is getting super, super crazy, man. As reports come in about the Iranian, basically president or prime minister, whichever one you call it, you know what I'm saying, being unalive, guys, at the hands of the U.S. military during airstrikes, says breaking. Iran's supreme leader, whatever his name is, you know, Ali, whatever that say, is confirmed unalive. Israeli officials say his body has been found, guys. Oh, man, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you double tapping that screen. Most definitely type something in the chat. Let me know you can hear me, guys. As American strikes have unalived the Israeli head person. What's up with it, my mother's keeper? Hey, yeah, man, they done took him out the game, guys. They done took him out the game. U.S. military strikes, guys. We are currently at battle with Iran. Yeah, man, and it's going down, man. One of our bases in Saudi Arabia, guys, are under attack as well, you know, following the unaliving of this guy here that's on your screen, man. This is crazy. Breaking news. Make sure you double tapping that screen. Can y'all hear me out there? I see somebody saying, what up, though? What's up, Chris? My mother's keeper. Can you hear me? Let me know you can hear me out there. It is a lot going on, guys. Not only have we attacked, but one of our U.S. military bases stationed in Saudi Arabia is now currently under attack, guys. Retaliation. What's up, my mother's keeper? All right, man. Let's get to a bit of it, man. Let me turn this off, man. Yeah, man, this is crazy, y'all. Uh-oh.
Information from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah is dead.
The Ayatollah,
this is breaking
that's his
news
name.
Again, coming from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, is dead. Again, we're going to go to Jeremy Diamond. Jeremy, the strikes coming this morning that were targeting senior leadership. That's what we knew. Targeting senior leadership there in Iran. And now we can say
we have unalived them. Double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up.
Iran, the supreme leader.
If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen, guys. That's how you hit the like button. The likes are very important, you know what I'm saying, to helping the growth of the channel. So make sure you're double tapping that screen, or click those three dots on in the right-hand corner and hit that thumbs up, guys. As we find out that the supreme ruler over there in Iran is unalive, guys. They saying that they found his body, y'all. They saying his body has been recovered. So he is most definitely unalive, guys. Let's go.
Is dead. What more are you learning there in Israel?
That's right, Jessica. Two Israeli sources telling me and my colleague Tal Shalev that Israel has confirmed that the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been killed as a result of those Israeli strikes that took place earlier today. One of these sources saying that Israel actually has photographic evidence of Khamenei showing his dead body.
Wow, guys.
The second source told me that an official announcement is in the works, although it is possible that the Israelis will allow President Trump and the United States to make this announcement officially. But this is enormous breaking news here, that the Israeli government is confirming that the supreme leader of Iran was killed in Israeli strikes earlier today. This is a day that many Israeli government officials have hoped would come eventually. It is also, we should note, a day that many Iranian dissidents, Iranian protesters had hoped would eventually come. And indeed, it has come now. And it is an earth-shattering moment for the Middle East and for the future of Iran.
Will they retaliate, guys? Will they retaliate? Do y'all think these people will retaliate after their supreme leader is unalive, guys, at the hands of the U.S. military? Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that there will be a retaliation for this?
We should note, however, that the supreme leader's death is not necessarily indicative of the Iran regime collapsing altogether. This regime is not based off of one person alone.
Hey,
it is a system that is multi-layered, and we know that the supreme leader understood very well that he could potentially be targeted for assassination should the United States and Israel choose to carry out massive strikes on Iran as they did today. And in recent weeks and months, he has been preparing 4 potential lines of succession should that actually take place. Now, we are still waiting, of course, for any confirmation from the United States as well as to the supreme leader having been killed. But 2 Israeli sources familiar with the matter telling us now that the supreme leader was killed in Israeli strikes today. One last note on this is that we have also been hearing about the division of labor between the United States and Israel as it pertains to these strikes. U.S. officials have been very clear that their strikes have been focused on military targets, and that the strikes targeting senior Iranian leaders, such as the supreme leader, were being conducted by Israel and not by the United States. Ultimately, that may very well be a distinction without a difference, given the high level of coordination between the United States and Israel in preparing and carrying out these strikes. But this is obviously an enormous moment in the Middle East, something that we anticipated could potentially be a target of any Israeli or U.S. strikes on Iran. And indeed, now not only a target, but confirmed by Israeli sources that the supreme leader of Iran is dead.
Indeed, big news out of the Middle East, the potential to reshape so many dynamics there. But again, as Jeremy notes,
they saying he officially unalive, guys.
Change. This is a piece of it, but it is a big piece of it. This is enormous news. Jeremy, I want you to stand by because we have seen those missiles that have been coming to Israel throughout the day. So stay with us. I do want to bring Jim Sciutto back in. Jim, this is very big news. And again, Jeremy, it is, and so help people understand, contextualize for them.
Continue to double tap that screen, guys.
That Iran's supreme leader has been killed in these strikes by the U.S. and Israel.
These strikes are now officially decapitation strikes, right? Strikes that were intended via Israeli military action, to be clear, to take out Iran's most senior leadership. And the man you see there, Ali Khamenei, is Iran's most senior leader with enormous, certainly political power in that country, but also religious authority in that country. The structure of Iranian government being that, yes, it has a president elected, but the supreme leader lies at the top of the government. And that is that man you see speaking there, which Israeli sources are now telling CNN was killed in these strikes. Again, you know, to my point earlier, Jessica, prior to this morning, there'd been an enormous amount of speculation as to just how far the U.S. was willing to go, but Israel as well, if they were striking together. And now we know they were willing to go as far as taking out Iran's most senior leader. Now, we had reported earlier that he was not the only target of these strikes, that other senior military and other leaders in Iran were targeted. We don't know their status at this point, but as we reported earlier in the day, Israeli officials were becoming more confident over time today that they had hit at least some of their targets.
This is crazy,
in
guys.
Iran, does that mean that suddenly there will be a new government, a new leader, one friendlier to the U.S.? No, an enormous network and structure of leadership and power remains in that country, military, economic, political, and otherwise. But to take out the Supreme...
Now, y'all know that not too long ago, Iran had basically put out a hit on Trump for like 50 million or 500,000, something like that. There was a hit on Trump's life, guys, by Iran not too long ago. If y'all remember, within his first term, you know, he was going through it with Iran, man. You know, some people say that this whole situation right here is Trump really getting his revenge on them for what they've been trying to do to him as far as putting a bounty on his head, guys. Wow. U.S. military strikes have taken out the supreme leader, guys, over there in Iran.
Supreme leader is a significant change. And of course, the question is...
Yeah, because it was for Soleimani. Y'all remember what he did with Soleimani? He dropped airstrikes and took Soleimani out too. And them people in Iran love Soleimani. You know, they took to the streets and was screaming unalive to America and all of that. If you got to remember back, this was a little while ago when Trump did this, where Iran has been after him ever since.
how far does that change go?
Shout out
Does
to
it
Cut Up
weaken the
Girl for
government
being
to
a
the
member
degree
for
that the
17
government
months.
collapses? Does it weaken it to a degree that the protesters that we saw take on this government quite bravely in recent weeks are inspired to go out into the streets again, right? I mean, that's what President Trump was encouraging them to do explicitly in a statement this morning. Now, that's quite a risky proposition, given that government retains enormous power, and they showed they were willing to use it to deadly extent in the many thousands of protesters that they killed in recent weeks. Those are still the open questions, but we have one question answered. Was Israel willing to go so far as to take out the supreme leader of Iran? And the answer is yes.
Absolutely, they were.
Right. And now the big question is what comes next? Jim Sheeto, stand by. I want to bring in Barak Ravid, CNN political and global affairs analyst. He's also a global affairs correspondent at Axios. Barak, I know you spoke with President Trump earlier today. Again, if you are just joining us, our breaking news is that Iran's supreme leader has been killed in these strikes. That is coming from Israeli sources.
Barak, we need 40 more likes, guys. Double tap that screen.
U.S. government, but the Israeli sources confirming that. What more are you learning? What did the president tell you?
Thank you, my mother's keeper.
Khamenei, I think around 30, 40 minutes ago, the Israeli ambassador to Washington, Yechiel Leiter, updated.
No problem, my mother's keeper. You know, I got to bring y'all that real, man. Breaking news. You know, the Iranian supreme leader has been unalive, guys, by U.S. airstrikes.
Several U.S. officials and members of Congress that Israeli intelligence shows that Khamenei has been killed and his body was taken out of the rubble in the compound in Tehran that was attacked. I spoke to President Trump a little bit before 1 p.m. While he was in Mar-a-Lago. We spoke for around 5 minutes. The president sounded to me at least pretty calm and confident that things are going according to plan. I think the situation with Khamenei was one of the main things he was tracking at that moment. And what was interesting in what he told me is that I asked him, how long is this going to continue? And he said, I have several off-ramps. I can go long and take the whole thing, meaning take over Iran, something that, I don't think that's something that is seriously being considered.
This is crazy, guys. Wow.
Yeah. Or I can go on for another 2-3 days and then tell the Iranians, we'll see you again.
Thank you,
in a few years if you try and rebuild your nuclear program, your missile program, meaning that Donald Trump, at least my impression from the conversation with him, is that he's looking to end this thing within a few days and basically put an ultimatum to the Iranians. We can get a deal, or you can try and rebuild your program, and then we'll just bomb you again if you try to do this.
Oh, wow, guys.
And I think
Shout out to Ms. Poober.
One of the messages that U.S. officials that just briefed reporters, I think 10 minutes ago.
Ms. Poober, are you seeing this, man? U.S. military strikes have taken out the supreme leader in Iran, guys. Well, of course, you know this don't sit so well with the Iranian people, man. We also got an interview that was held by the foreign minister about what's going on in Iran right now. Let's go here.
Iran. Minister Arachi, we appreciate your making time to speak to us right now.
We got Iranian officials.
We know that you are one of the few in that country who have the access to communicate outside of a country where there is a large blackout of communications at this time. First and foremost, our question to you, sir, is can you give us a better understanding of the situation on the ground there, the impacts that have taken place? And separately, can you confirm to us that the Ayatollah and the president are both still alive?
Well, thank you for having me. Well, the situation on the ground is quite, I cannot say normal.
Thank you for the cash out. Thank you.
Everything is under control. I think Americans and Israelis failed to, access to
This
you
is
know, hit their
this is the Iranian foreign minister, guys, speaking on the situation occurring in Iran right now.
targets. And now everything is under control, and we almost in less than 2 hours we were able
Thank
to
you for the gift, my
start
mother's
retaliation
keeper.
by sending by attacking you know, American bases and some targets in Israel by our missiles. Almost all officials are safe and sound and alive. We may have lost 1 or 2 commanders, but that is not a big problem. You know, we are actually managing it. We are handling the situation. And I was in contact with
Thank you for the gift.
my colleagues in the Persian Gulf, and I explained for them that, you know, we have no intention to attack them, but we are actually attacking the American bases in the act of self-defense. We cannot just sit and watch they are attacking us and we don't, you know, respond simply because their bases are in a friendly neighbor country. So I explained for them, and I hope that they understand this situation. Another point I have to mention is, I don't know why the U.S. administration insists to start a negotiation and then in the middle of negotiation attack, you know, the other party.
He say America started negotiations with them, and while they were in the middle of negotiating, we launched an airstrike against them. Man, look, I don't think Iran's gonna like this too much. They already done threw out one bounty. They might just up the ante now. What y'all think about it, man? As America basically goes to war or battle with Iran.
Today happened exactly what last June happened. We were in the middle of negotiations, and you know, and it was interesting that this time we made a big progress. 2 days ago, on Thursday, we had a very good meeting in Geneva, together with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and we were able to address serious questions related to Iran's nuclear program. We obviously have differences, but we resolved some of those differences, and we decided to continue in order to resolve the rest of questions. And we actually instructed the technical team to go to Vienna and have a meeting with the IAEA.
So Ms. Pooh Bear say we here now.
In order to find technical solution for the problems we are facing in the negotiation. And everybody was happy at the end of those negotiations. As you saw, His Excellency Badr al-Busaidi, the Foreign Minister of Oman, who is mediating between us, he concluded by posting a tweet saying that today we made significant progress. And before he posted his tweet, he consulted with both delegations and both were happy. So I don't know why, while we were progressing in our talks and we had made good, you know, achievement and a deal was at our reach, why they decided to attack us. Perhaps, you know, it was others who dragged the United States for their own benefits into this, you know, conflict. It's really pity. It's very unfortunate.
Yes, Mr. Arachi, I appreciate your comments there, and we do have a series of other questions I want to ask you. But just for clarity for our audience right now, can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know,
hold on, because y'all know reports were saying that basically this man was unalive. I showed y'all a report a second ago. Now they're saying a supreme leader, Ayatollah, whatever his name is, confirmed unalive. Israel officials say his body has been found, guys. That's what they saying. You know, that's what they saying. But let's go.
Yes, they are alive, and the head of the judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well. All high-ranking officials are alive. And the Secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.
Is y'all hearing this?
Sir, do you believe that you were targeted as part of these strikes?
I got it. Thank you,
yes.
Cut Up Girl. I can't check it right now.
Well, I don't know.
I have
They
to
have
look when it's
targeted
over.
everybody. You know, just now I saw the
But if you
footages
sent
of
it to either one
their
of them, I'm pretty
attack,
sure I got it.
girl school in which in the city of Minab in the southern part of Iran. So 57.
Hold on, I can't let him ice skate past. He just said that they were all okay. But the reports are saying that the supreme leader is unalived and they found his body and all of that. But this dude right here said everybody okay. I don't know which one of them it is.
Girls were killed by their strike. So when they struck a school, so it is they can also hit others easily. This attack was unprovoked, illegal, and absolutely illegitimate, and against the international law, and should be condemned. That is obvious.
You said that Iran is prepared to take self-defense towards these actions. What would that entail?
Well, we are facing an act of aggression, and obviously we have every right to defend ourselves. So what we are doing is act of self-defense, which is absolutely legal and legitimate. So, and we think that we are fully prepared for that, even more prepared than previous time, the 12-day war. And I believe we managed this. We know very well how to defend ourselves. We learned lots of lessons from the previous war, and we will certainly teach the aggressors a lesson they deserve.
Mr. Arachi, if I may ask you very quickly right now, we know that Iran, via the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, via its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas.
And I always think it's a great thing to be able to hear both sides. So not only are we getting what we're getting from the American side, we are getting it from the Iranian side as well. Let's go.
The rebels in Yemen has carried out attacks on Americans, on others throughout that region. Iran insists that its nuclear program has never been with the desire to create nuclear weapons. But my question to you is, sir, why should the United States and why should the rest of the world trust Iran when it says its efforts to create a nuclear program are only for civilian use and not to continue to carry out harm against Western and American interests?
Well, first of all, we don't have proxies. There are certain groups who are fighting for a just cause, and we support them.
So that would make them a proxy, correct, sir?
Yeah. But they are not receiving orders from us. They are independent groups, but we support them, and we support them in their fight for the right of self-determination or to free their land from occupation, whatever. But for the time being, we don't need anybody for our defense. We are capable enough to defend ourselves, and we will do that, and we don't need the help of anybody. On our nuclear program, I think there are every reason that Iran does not want nuclear weapon. And the whole world has tested us when in 2015, we signed a deal and we announced very clearly that Iran would never seek, develop or acquire nuclear weapons. And that was a permanent commitment in 2015 deal. I know that President Trump doesn't like that deal, but at least we proved our goodwill, and we proved that we are not seeking nuclear weapons. And it was not Iran who withdrew from that deal, it was the US. And still in 2025, when the US offered us negotiation to find a solution for Iran's nuclear program, again, we accepted. We entered into negotiation.
Ms. D says America needs to tend to American business and let the other countries handle their own business. Let's go, Ms. D.
In good faith, at least 3 times we came to a good conclusion, but my interlocutor in the other side couldn't sell it in Washington. Then they suddenly attacked us. Again, this time we entered into negotiation with the help of our Omani friends and others. Everybody supported those negotiations, and we made significant progress this time,
So
and then
sleepy.
they attacked us. So we have, it is us who have, negative, bitter experiences from talking to the United States. We have never wanted nuclear weapon. There is both religious, convictions by us, the verdict by the Supreme Leader, who considered all these weapons as inhumane and, against the Islamic teachings. At the same time,
so Iran says they never wanted nuclear weapons, guys. They said the Supreme Leader, for religious reasons, said that this was that the nuclear weapons were inhumane, guys. So they're basically saying they don't even care about no nuclear weapons anyway. What y'all think about that? You trying to get all the things to build a nuclear weapon, but yet you're saying you don't care about a nuclear weapon. Okay.
No place in our security doctrine, and I can explain, but I would like to reaffirm once again that we have proved our goodwill. We negotiated with E3 and then E3 plus 3 or P5 plus 1, and we concluded a deal. The whole world celebrated, and we remain committed to that deal in 2015. But it was the US who withdrew, not us. And again, the experiences of last year and this year. So I think the one who should prove its good faith, its goodwill, is the United States, not Iran.
Sir, as many Americans are waking up this morning seeing images of Israel and other nations try to defend itself, what is your message to the American people about how far Iran will go?
Uh-oh.
Well, we have no limit to defend ourselves.
Whoa! Did y'all hear that? He said, what is your warning? She asked him, what is your warning to the American people? He said, we have no basic boundaries on how far we will go. There is no limits. Oh, man. I need an underground bunker fast.
Message to the American people about how far Iran will go.
Well, we have no limit to defend ourselves.
Does that include attacking Americans?
Well, we are attacking American military buildup in our region. We are not attacking Americans in their land. Americans are attacking our people in our cities. But this is not what we are going to do. We are attacking the Americans' bases, military bases in the region, and military installations and facilities. And this is only as an act of self-defense. We are not the one who starts this.
So they said that they're not attacking any American lands as of right now. Basically they're only going after the military. You're going after the U.S. military but we're attacking their people. That's what he said. I don't know how to feel about this, y'all. Man, I don't know how to feel about this. When you're dealing with a group of people that don't mind unaliving themselves to unalive you, you're in a very dangerous situation, guys. This is a very dangerous situation. You got to remember, for people in Iran and things of that nature, unaliving is like championed over there. They'll run up to you, give you a hug, and blow up, and get 72 virgins from what I heard. I'm just saying, man, hey, when you're fighting a group of people that don't mind unaliving themselves to unalive you, oh yeah, it's bad.
Aggression. It was the United States and Israel who started this aggression. So there is no limit for us to defend ourselves. But once the aggression is stopped, we would also stop our self-defense. This is quite obvious and quite natural.
Mr. Arachi, in recent weeks, we saw a crackdown by the Iranian regime on civilian protesters throughout that country. Depending on where you receive your information, hundreds or even thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of Iranian people were killed. In this moment, for the Iranian people, will you commit that Iran will not crack down, will not attack, maim, or kill the people of Iran if they choose to protest peacefully against their government?
Well, I have to correct your disinformation. We didn't crack down the protesters, we cracked down a terrorist operation. From 28 December to 7 January, we had peaceful protests in our streets, and that was absolutely tolerated. Even the government decided to engage with the leaders of those protests to find a solution for the problems they have faced. And everything was peaceful and nobody was killed. But on 8th January to 10, it was totally a different story. Armed elements added to those protests. They came from outside. They received instructions from outside, specifically from Mossad and Israelis, and they started shooting at our police and security forces. So it was completely a different story, a terrorist operation, and we had no way but to crack it down.
So for clarity, you're saying that those who were killed were exclusively foreign agents. None of them, is your claim, were Iranians?
No,
let's get to it.
Those elements entered into the demonstrations and protests, and they started shooting at our police forces, and then they started shooting at people, and it was very strange. And then they started even shooting at the protesters. Why? Because they wanted to increase the number of killings, because the President of the United States had said that if there are killings, I will come to rescue. So in order to drag him into a war with Iran, they started shooting at people. So they increased the number of, in order to increase the number of deaths. And the total number was, as we have said, 3,117. And the list of all victims have been already published by us. About 2,500 of which are considered by us as martyrs, ordinary people who were killed by these terrorist elements. 200 police forces. What do you do in the United States if somebody shoot at your police? You would certainly react very harshly. And this is what
he said. They ain't do nothing wrong, man. He said that the protesters over there basically opened fire on their military or whatever, so they had to neutralize the situation, and then made a comparison between us and them, saying in America, when people go against the military or the police, they're shooting at them. What do you guys do? You take action. He basically saying that's what they did.
And then it was, over in less than in 2.5 days. So please distinguish and separate between protesters, peaceful protesters in the streets, and then a terrorist operation, which was something else. So we consider those 3 days as a plot by Israelis and the continuation of 12-day war. So why they did it? Because last time in the war, in 12-day war, they saw that people came to the streets in support of the Islamic Republic. There was a social unity in support of the system. This time they wanted to change the course, so they started with some riots in the streets. They gave weapons to certain elements to come and shoot people. So we would have this chaos, and then attack us. Exactly what is going on right now. So all of those were very well planned, plot by Israelis and Americans. But we were able to control that, operation, and we are able to defend ourselves this time. And you will see that how we can defend ourselves, and the world would see.
They say they see the fear in his eyes.
Likely the President of the United States to talk about regime change in Iran this morning in his recorded statements. What is your message to the President?
Well, I think this is mission impossible. For regime change, you cannot do regime change while millions of people are supporting
Chris, ain't it, man? Regime. 2026 is looking horrible.
Just look at what happened in the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. We had altogether about 30 million people in the streets in all cities of Iran in support of the Islamic Republic and in support of the whole system. So you cannot, change this regime because it's supported by the people. Yes, there are also people who are complaining, but they are strong supporters of the regime, of the system at the same time. And then we have a very well-established political structure, and they have tried regime change. This is not the first time that they want to do regime change. They have tried it in the past. Look, in the past 47 years, the United States has tried everything from coup, from sanctions, 8 years of war by Saddam Hussein, supported by the United States and many others. And then, 12-day war, snapback, in the Security Council and terrorist operations. They have tried everything, and all of them failed. And I don't know why they don't, understand their failures. So if they want to repeat a failed experience, they won't get any better result.
Then, sir, Ms. D, we've been in everybody's business for decades now, maybe even centuries. America never just minds American business. We mind our business and everybody else's business too.
What is your message to the Iranian people? We understand that you described the president's call for regime change as mission impossible. What is your message to the people of Iran right now? In your words, everything is under control, but based on what the world is seeing, there appears to be smoke coming up from a variety of different sites throughout Tehran. There appears to be some panic and real concern there. What do you tell the people of that country about the state of its government and the state of Iran broadly?
Well, I said everything is under control. I didn't say that there is no war. Of course there is war. Of course there is panic. Of course there are attacks to different buildings. Of course, about 60 girl students have been killed in one school. Of course there are those things. But my message to my own people is that we are a great nation with a great civilization. We have lasted for thousands of years, and we know how to defend ourselves. We know how to deal with our enemies, and we will survive when we become more stronger out of this.
So when you hear the president say to the people of Iran, your freedom is your own, rise up, the United States will be with you, you say to them, that's a hollow gesture?
Isn't that the intervention in the, internal affairs of another country? If we had done so, what have you said? So the president of another country, no matter how powerful, has no right to decide for the people of another country, to order the people of another country what to do and what not to do. And this is what he did, by the way, in those terrorist operations. He was the one who set fires in the governmental buildings. Do this, do that. And now he's asking people to rise against their government. Has he, any right to do that? I don't think so.
Sir, are there any back channel talks, any communications that are taking place right now, or are those done? And separately, can this be de-escalated, and how?
Well, there is no communication right now. But if Americans want to talk to us, they know how they can contact me. We are certainly interested for de-escalation. This is not our war. This is an imposed war against us. This is a war of choice by the United States, and they have to pay for that. And they do. But as far as we are concerned, we don't want war. We don't want escalation in our region. We are ready for de-escalation, but the aggression should be stopped first. The attacks should be stopped first, and then there is the possibility to talk, and we can consider that. I'm not promising anything because our people are very angry right now. So if the war is stopped, if the aggression is stopped, then we will see how we can, work for de-escalation.
Sir, just days ago, you had said that there had been a semblance of an agreement between the U.S. and Iran, and a way to avoid a war, if you will. What specific concessions was Iran not willing to give up?
Well, on our nuclear program, we made it clear for the American team that we are prepared to do everything in order to prove that our nuclear program is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever. What we are not prepared for is to give up our right. We are not giving up our right, including for enrichment, but we are ready to build confidence on our nuclear program, to make sure that our program is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever. For that reason, for that goal, we offered good concessions to the U.S. team when we met them in last Thursday, 2 days ago. I may go into the details of those concessions in another program, perhaps, in order for the whole world to understand and for Americans to understand that we were progressing. We made significant progress. We agreed to do enrichment only based on our needs, the needs of Iranian people. I can tell you one of our...
We need to be over 200 likes, guys. We need 20 more of y'all to double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man, as we find out everything it is to know about the strikes that have taken place in Iran, guys. It's looking bad out here, man. According to reports, we have unalive their supreme leader. This guy that we got on the screen right here is unalive right now at this time. According to American media, guys, but they interviewing the foreign minister, and he's saying that everybody is okay. So I don't know what to think. They asked him specifically, was the supreme leader unalived, and he said everybody's fine.
Our needs. It is your Tehran research reactor. This is a small reactor, by the way, built by Americans before the revolution, and this reactor produces radioisotopes, medicines needed for nearly 2 million Iranians. So how we can give it up? How we can just stop this reactor? So we would continue our program based on our own needs. This is what we can do, and we are prepared to do that. And we can accept, robust verifications and monitoring by the agency, and we can even do some more confidence-building measures in order to, make sure, as I said, that everything would remain peaceful. So I see the possibility to, reach a deal which can guarantee that Iran's program is peaceful at the same time.
Specific, or Pacific, tomato, same thing.
Sanctions are lifted and economic cooperation can be, started, and, we go for peace. And I don't know why the United States, why President Trump just missed that opportunity. Ask the Foreign Minister of Oman how close we were to get a deal.
Mr. Araghchi, if I may, we heard from the president first in his State of the Union address that took place on Tuesday, and again this morning in recorded remarks that I'm sure you've heard. The president said, among other things, that Iran has been building missiles that, in his words, could soon reach the American homeland. So as it relates to Iran's ballistic missile capabilities, does Iran now have the capability to reach the U.S. homeland? How far removed is it from that capability?
No, we don't have that capability. We have intentionally kept the range of our missiles below 2,000 kilometers. So we don't have that capability, and we don't want to do that because we don't have any hostility against, the United States people and
let's go, Yana, for being a member for 17 months. Shout out to the member gang, man. Shout out to the member squad. Appreciate y'all.
Or Europeans or whatsoever. We have built that capability in order to defend ourselves against our enemies. And, our missiles proved to be the most reliable means of defense for us. So obviously we cannot compromise on our missiles because our security depends on them. So the more, the U.S. administration, the more Europeans or whoever insists that Iran should disarm itself from those missiles, the more we are convinced that in order to protect ourselves, we need those missiles. So our missiles have defensive nature. Our missiles is only for deterrence and defense. They are not for aggression. And nobody has any record of any aggression by us against our neighbors in the past 200 years.
So for clarity, you said that missiles cannot reach the United States by design, that you do not want to reach the United States.
He says that missiles can't make it to us, guys. Y'all believe him? I believe, hey, man. You know what I'm saying? They might have some. Y'all been saying he been lying the whole time. Do y'all believe that technology that they have over there as far as their missile operating systems can't make it to America? Let me know.
Also said it would be necessary as a defensive vehicle.
Because I'm about ready to invest in me an underground bunker at this point.
That you could if necessary. So to be clear, are you committing that Iran is not and will not build missiles that would have the capability to reach the United States?
I can confirm, yes.
Sir, if that's a red line for you, why is attacking U.S. military bases abroad justified?
But because they are attacking us.
Let's go, Yana.
They are U.S. military, installations, facilities, bases who are attacking us. We are under attack. Why don't you, recognize this fact? We are under the attack by U.S. forces in the region. So we have every right to defend ourselves. And how to defend ourselves? We attacked, the U.S. bases. This is obvious. This is a very simple fact. And I hope that, and I'm sure that people would understand that. We are not the one who attacked Americans. We are only defending ourselves.
Did these attacks that were carried out by the U.S. and Israel today destroy Iranian missile bases?
Well, I don't think so, because, we are firing our missiles almost every hour.
Did it destroy any missile bases there?
Well, I don't know. I have no detailed information yet. But as I see, only 1 hour after the U.S. attacks, we started to launch missiles, to hit targets in Israel and in U.S. bases. That means that our capability is there, and we have enough capability, we have enough strength to continue this as long as needed. I'm telling this with confidence. We are more prepared than previous war, quantity-wise and quality-wise.
Mr. Arachi, we have heard
he said quantity-wise, and hey, man, he said they is ready. They is more prepared than the last time that America struck them. They have double of everything. That says that, hey, man, if y'all keep on playing, we prepared to do whatever. Shout out to Rika for grabbing that membership. Shout out to you, Sidewalk. Shout out to you.
Many foreign leaders throughout the world, among them from the Kremlin. We have heard from Russia. We are beginning to hear from other nations elsewhere. What, if any, communications has Iran had from some of its allies, many of them viewed as adversaries to the United States, around the world, about what they are committed to do at this time?
Well, I had a good conversation with my Russian counterpart. I also talked with my colleagues in the region, with Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait.
Did he say Russia? Yeah, I'm most definitely getting me a bunker now. Y'all got me messed up. Y'all won't have me out here unprotected. I'm most definitely getting me a bunker. You know what I'm saying? He said my counterparts in Russia. Oh, he said Russia. Oh, man.
It's, all those GCC countries. And, my mission is to end the war. This is my mission as foreign minister, to end this unprovoked war against us. And we are in close contact with our friends in Russia and China.
He said Russia and China. Oh, yeah.
And
I'm getting
I am prepared to work on any idea which is, just and reasonable and can help.
Did he just say Russia and China all in the same sentence? He just said Russia and China all in the same. Man, look, y'all better get y'all some bunkers.
Helping this war, ending
What's
this
up,
war
Cookie?
with pride, of course.
Mr. Abbas Arachi is the foreign minister of Iran. Mr. Arachi, we appreciate your perspective and coming to speak with us this morning. Thank you.
Look, he got that smile on his face like, yeah, they don't even know what's coming. Ooh, y'all don't know what's about. Look at him. He's smiling over there. They just lost, allegedly, their their supreme leader, and he's smiling. This guy here, the foreign minister, he's smiling about it. He like, man, ooh, they just don't know what's about to go down while they playing. Oh, man. All right, so just like he said, man, they have struck a U.S. military base in Saudi Arabia, guys. Let's go.
Any further detail? National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin, she's got some breaking news to add to what we are learning right now about this operation. Jennifer.
Sandra, I just spoke with a senior U.S. official that confirmed to Fox that the U.S. does believe that Ali Khamenei, the Ayatollah, was killed along with 5 to 10 top Iranian leaders.
Our news is saying that the guy is unalive. They said along with 5 to 10 others. You know, they're saying this guy is unalive even after we just heard the, the prime minister over there basically say that this guy is still alive. I don't know what to believe right now. But American news is saying that this guy here is unalive.
That initial Israeli strike on his compound earlier today that launched this day of strikes, the last 12 hours, they agree with Israel's intelligence assessment. But what is most interesting to me is that the multiple sources have told me that the strike had to be moved up based on intelligence and this so-called target of opportunity. There was a deliberate decision to accelerate the timeline and to strike during the daytime, which is extremely unusual. Usually the U.S. would not strike during the daytime, but they wanted to catch the senior leadership off guard. It was a Saturday morning during Ramadan, and it was also Shabbat during the day. And that's when Israel took the opportunity and dropped those 30 bombs on the compound, and the U.S. simultaneously launched strikes against all of these.
We dropped 30 bombs on one of their compounds, guys. Goodness gracious.
Military targets that then we've seen the results of today. I've also learned that the U.S. alone, the U.S. military alone, has carried out nearly 900 strikes in the last airstrikes in the last 12 hours. That is an incredibly high number of strikes in the first 12 hours of this operation, Sandra.
Hey, Jen, it's John here. So the one thing that we sometimes neglect to mention is that, you know, one of the big reasons why Midnight Hammer and the 12-Day War were so successful was because Israel had Mossad agents on the ground who were directing activities for the aircraft that were overhead.
Can we get the lights up, guys? Double tap that screen. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen and click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys, as we find out more about what's taking place in Iran. According to U.S. media, the supreme leader has been taken out. According to Iranian officials, this is not true. But one thing is true. Iran has attacked or basically put into place attacks on American bases stationed in Saudi Arabia, guys. Let's get those likes up.
Do we have any idea? And one of the other things about the 12-Day War that was so brilliant on the part of the Israelis is they managed to attract and to bring together top members of the IRGC leadership, and then they eliminated them. Do we know what the Mossad's potential role was here in making sure that they had everybody in the right place at the right time to launch this strike?
I think it's safe to assume, John, that this was an intelligence-driven operation, and the people who have the best intelligence in that region tend to be Mossad. If you look at what happened last summer in terms of Lebanon and the drawing together of those leaders as well, taking out and decapitating Hezbollah, this is a style of attack and strike and intelligence that really only the Israelis are capable of. And so I think it makes sense that it was their warplanes that struck the compound, but I found it very interesting that the U.S. Had to agree to move up the timeline based on this target of opportunity, and that senior officials both in Israel as well as in the United States believe that 5 to 10 top Iranian leaders were killed in that strike, including the IRGC commander killed alongside Ali Khamenei.
Jen, if you could you also give us any further details that we have learned about attacks on U.S. military bases in the Middle East? What do we know at this point?
Well, we know that there have been at least 300 missiles fired by Iran today. Some of them have been missiles, some drones targeting various U.S. military bases. A lot of people may not realize that the U.S. has bases in almost every Gulf country. So from Oman to Kuwait to UAE to Qatar as well as in Saudi Arabia. In fact, I've just received word from a very senior military source that the U.S. base, the Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, is currently under attack by Iranian ballistic missiles, and that the Saudis are currently shooting down those missiles. But this is a big escalation, and we reported earlier today how significant it was that the Saudis had decided to get off the sidelines and decide to say that they were joining in this operation against Iran once Iran fired missiles into Iranian territory, because they're also firing into some of the areas where oil production is in Saudi Arabia. So the countries like Oman, UAE, and Oman has come off the sidelines as well and is criticizing Iran for the strikes against UAE, Qatar, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia.
Right. I mean, the fact that Iran is throwing all these ballistic missiles at countries in the region, I mean, could be read as the death knell of a regime that is on its last legs. Because
it's certainly a sign of desperation, John. I think that is absolutely correct. And I just meant to mention to Sandra, you asked about the strikes on the U.S. bases. There have been.
Now, he said that they were supposed to just stick to attacks like this on U.S. bases that's basically in the Middle East. I wonder if this will lead to American soil. Do y'all think they'll keep their word about keeping it strictly with the military and not with the people? Let me know.
No casualties. So while there has been some incoming, there have been no casualties and no real damage that has interfered with operations.
So if this is indeed Iran just kind of firing everything that it's got at everybody in the region as it crumbles, the question is, how many ballistic missiles does it have? And I'm sure that our ability to defend against them is finite. I mean, how much do we have left in terms of missile defense?
Well, I think we have plenty of missile defense right now. I mean, it's not infinite, but what I have learned is that Iran has fired about 300 missiles today. They have about 2,000 long-range missiles and 2,000 shorter-range missiles. That is really significant because they were building up. Remember, a lot of those missile supplies were attrited last summer during Operation Midnight Hammer, but it seems, and sources have told me, that one of the reasons it was so urgent and needed that Israel and the United States felt that they needed to act is that if Iran had had another year, they would have had 1,000 more ballistic missiles. They were building them at such a pace and resupplying despite having lost so many last year.
Jen, before you go, we have a live look at the White House. I'm being told right now, we have not heard directly from the U.S. or Iran, for that matter, following the confirmation of the Supreme Leader's death, correct?
We have not heard an official comment on the record statement. I imagine that they would let that be announced by the president.
Got it. And I'm told the pictures that we have right now are new from the Situation Room, guys. I think we're getting our first pictures from inside the Situation Room. Okay. This is from, obviously, Mar-a-Lago, as the president traveled there yesterday after he left Texas from Mar-a-Lago as this decision was being made. Okay. Jen Griffin joining us by phone on the breaking news. Thank you so much.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube.
This is crazy, guys. So we are basically still saying that, hey, he's unalive, man. Now they're saying that they got official word from Trump, basically that this guy's unalive. Guys, let's go here. Hold on. We're not done. Let's go here.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Iran has retaliated, hitting many countries in the Gulf, including their residential buildings.
This is what's currently going on in Iran. This is for educational purposes only, guys. This is here is wild, guys. This is wild, man. Yeah, man. It is bad over there, guys.
This was the scene in Dubai tonight as a large hotel was struck. There are concerns for people living in and visiting the whole area. And this is the scene live right now in Tel Aviv, which has continued to be hit by Iranian missiles tonight. We're here to tell you all we know about the situation and what it might mean after a momentous day for the Middle East and the world.
This is crazy, guys.
Hello to you from Tel Aviv, a region on edge tonight over fears of a wider Middle East war. In the last hour, Donald Trump says Iran's supreme leader is dead. If confirmed, it is a seismic moment for this whole area. So far, Iran has rejected the claims that he has been killed on what is a dramatic day with Israel.
Which is what we heard earlier. The prime minister said that the supreme leader is still alive. But Trump has been telling us, as well as the media, that he's unalive. Which one is it? We're about to find out.
And America launching a wave of airstrikes on targets right across Iran. Several sites were hit in what Donald Trump has described as a successful mission. The Iranians have, however, hit back themselves with force right across the region. Plumes of smoke were seen in an area of Bahrain near the headquarters of the US Navy's Fifth Fleet. An airbase in Doha was also hit, where there is a significant US military presence. And this missile was captured on camera over Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Thousands, including tourists, have been caught up in the strikes. We'll have full coverage and assess what the implications could be for the Middle East. But first, Jeremy Bowen, our international editor, has the very latest on what's been going on today.
This was Ayatollah Ali Khamenei at the tomb of his predecessor at the end of January. If Israel has killed him, as Donald Trump says, the Islamic regime in Iran will have taken a huge blow.
Now, I know we've all seen this guy before. The last time when we took out their nuclear plants, he came out and spoke. This is the supreme leader right here that Trump is saying is unalive. They say the reports say he was unalive, along with 10 other people were also unalived as well.
One analyst called him the superglue keeping the system together. Israel and the US will hope that if he is dead, the regime will come unstuck. Benjamin Netanyahu said he was killed in a powerful strike.
We're currently partnered up with Israel right now, you know, and I think this is like their supreme leader over there, they president right here of Israel.
On his compound in Tehran.
For 3.5 decades, this tyrant dispatched terrorism across the world, made his own people miserable, and worked constantly and tirelessly on a program to annihilate the state of Israel. That plan is there no longer, and there are many signs that this tyrant is also no longer.
Satellite images show the destruction of the compound used by the supreme leader in Tehran. The Iranians say he was not there when it was attacked, and told ABC News in America that he was safe and sound.
See?
The Americans believe that, this time, their raw power can impose regime change on an enemy without creating a disaster. The removal of Iraq's Saddam Hussein in 2003 led to a catastrophe.
These missiles are launched from a U.S. Navy ship.
Of war that incubated jihadist extremist movements that still exist. The Americans released video of their targets. With Israel, they believe the economic and political weakness of the Islamic regime in Iran gives them an opportunity to strike that they have to take. Israel and the US went back to war with Iran just after breakfast time in Tehran, hitting the capital and sites across the country. It's hard to get information about what's happening there. Video of an attack on a school in southern Iran is circulating. Iranian state TV was reporting 85 killed. This is a dangerous moment with unpredictable consequences in the world's most turbulent region. Israel said the whole operation is a preemptive attack without producing evidence of an imminent threat. Sirens sounded immediately.
This is scary, guys.
War is political, and this is a war of choice aimed at changing the regime in Iran. Iran tried to deliver on its threat of a devastating response aimed at the extensive network of US bases in the Gulf. This was Qatar, as well as Israel.
Go, go, go! Get in, get inside.
In Dubai, tourists looking for winter sun had a nasty reminder of the region's realities. Close by in Bahrain, this appears to be a strike aimed at the big US naval base. Iran says it will use more powerful missiles than the ones it fired in last summer's war. An interceptor rocket went up.
Remember, the foreign minister said they are more equipped than ever at this time to defend themselves, guys. This is them defending themselves, as they say.
Iran will hope that as the days pass, the US and Israel will start running out of defensive missiles. In Tehran, regime supporters rallied around the flag. It would take more than killing the supreme leader to destroy the regime. It has a complex political system underpinned by ideology, corruption, and the ruthless use of force against dissent. In January, big protests against the regime and the economic crisis were crushed with live bullets that killed thousands of people. Donald Trump promised to protect them and seems to believe that the regime will fall if they try again after America and Israel's onslaught. At dusk, the Fairmont Hotel on Dubai's Palm was hit.
This is in Dubai, guys.
If it was targeted or if this was
No Americans like to go, vacation and party in Dubai, guys. Dubai is getting hit up as well.
By missile debris from an interception, the fire took hold. And this was Bahrain. More devastation. Iran has a big arsenal of accurate short-range missiles. Iran's leaders will now be calculating how to ride out the war, how to survive, and how to manage its consequences. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News.
Well, tonight, the United Nations Security Council is holding an emergency meeting to discuss today's extraordinary events. And these are live pictures from...
The United Nations is talking about it, guys. They had an emergency meeting about what is going on in Iran right now, man. Who gave this order? Who okayed this? And what are we going to do about it?
The session in New York. The Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, warned that today's military action risks triggering uncontrollable consequences for the Middle East. Well, this evening, Donald Trump said he believes a large number of Iran's leaders have also been killed. The president said the operation has been a success. Let's go live to Sarah Smith, who's at the White House for us tonight. Sarah, the president seems happy with today's events. He has dealt a blow to the Iranian regime, taken out some of the leadership, and he says taken out the supreme leader too.
Yeah, he announced that on his Truth social media site. And when he said that Ayatollah Khomeini had been killed, he described him as one of the most evil people in history, and then went on to say this is now the single greatest chance for Iranians to take back their country. And he's also been talking on the phone to a number of American journalists.
This is what Trump said, guys. So official report from the White House, basically from Trump. Basically saying, hey, man, this man is unalived, and there's some other high-ranking officials that are unalive as well.
Describing the operation so far as a tremendous success and saying he believes that quite a large proportion of the Iranian leadership have now been killed. The White House has released photos of President Trump monitoring operations in a specially constructed facility in Mar-a-Lago. Alongside him are the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and his Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Vice President J.D. Vance is seen in the White House Situation Room in Washington.
A short time ago,
Donald Trump posted a video on social media at 2:30 in the morning to inform the American people he had launched a massive attack on Iran.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world.
Pretty good. So thank you. Just hours earlier, he was campaigning in Texas in a hamburger joint, giving no hint of the planned assault.
I'm going to get some stuff for Air Force One, and I'm going to get the hell out of here, all right?
Thank you, Moses.
Okay?
Not much later, he was describing how he plans to stop Iran developing a nuclear weapon.
We're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
Last year, President Trump addressed thousands of American troops stationed in the Middle East, telling them his priority is to end conflicts, not start them. Now he's warning of casualties and fatalities.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens.
What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Should we be over there mingling in these people's affairs, or should we just mind our own business? Good Lord, man. Wow. Trump said, hey, man, Trump is going in head first when it comes to Iran, guys. Ballin said we should absolutely not be over there meddling in them people's affairs.
But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
When the US launched B-2 bombers to attack Iran last year, the action was limited to nuclear sites. Now he says the Iranian people have the chance to overthrow the ruling regime.
Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
Donald Trump has railed against previous American attempts at regime change in Iraq and Afghanistan. He is not planning to invade Iran. He hopes he can overthrow its leadership without putting American boots on the ground. Sarah Smith, BBC News, Washington.
It's a lot going on, guys.
Tehran, there's been loud cheers to celebrate the reported death of the country's supreme leader. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been the figurehead of the Islamic Republic for more than 3 decades. 7 missiles hit the presidential palace, and there have been strikes around his compound. Baran Abbasi from the BBC's Persian service reports now on a warning it contains distressing images.
Cheers ringing out from residential buildings in Tehran after Israeli media reported the death of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Claims Tehran has dismissed as psychological warfare. News that, if confirmed, would be welcomed by many Iranians who suffered.
So Iran is still saying that this guy is alive, guys.
Under his rule for nearly 4 decades. This is how the day began. Panic on the streets of Tehran around 9:40 a.m., a working day in Iran, when loud explosions were heard across the country.
War has started near our office down in Palestine Street. All the buildings were shaking. The streets are full of terrified people.
At the same time, a sense of relief for some. And at this school, teenagers celebrate.
So it's saying that some are celebrating the situation, guys.
After state media reported that an Israeli struck on a girls' school killed dozens.
The first victims of this war are girls in Minab, hit by a missile attack. Is this the war you cheer for?
A mixture of emotions. For some, a fear that more violence is yet to come. For others, a sense that the regime's hold could finally be challenged. In a country scarred by months of protest and deadly crackdowns, uncertainty reigns. As the smoke clears, Iranians are left to face the consequences and to hope for a future beyond fear. Baran Abbasi, BBC News.
Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer says the UK wasn't involved in the strikes earlier today, but said British planes and forces were actively supporting their allies as part of the UK's commitment to the security of the Middle East.
Our forces are active, and British planes are in the sky today as part of coordinated regional...
Oh, man, y'all. Goodness gracious, oh, man.
...defensive operations to protect our people, our interests, and our allies.
This evening, Sir Keir has been speaking to Donald Trump. Chris Mason is live in Downing Street for us. Do we have a readout, Chris, on what was said between the two leaders?
It was a pretty brief call, I hear, Clive, and certainly as far as folk here in Downing Street are concerned, they're remaining pretty tight-lipped about the specifics of what was discussed. Look, bluntly here, the UK, alongside France and Germany, are in a different place to the US and Israel. They have neither endorsed their actions, nor were they involved in any way. The Prime Minister emphasising, as you heard there, that yes, British planes have been in the sky in the region in a defensive capability, and he emphasises within international...
We do not want to see the 3 W's. Please don't let it happen. The 3 W's is a bad thing, but it's looking like, you know, people are grouping with other people as far as allies and things of that nature go. Could this be the lead-in into the 3 W's? Let me know.
Law, so protecting allies. And yes, the Prime Minister has condemned in strong terms Iran generally and the retaliatory action from Iran today. As far as the political reaction domestically is concerned, broadly splits on right-left lines. The Conservatives and Reform UK suggesting the UK should be much more supportive of America. The likes of the Scottish National Party and the Liberal Democrats very sceptical.
Yeah, you say you don't think that Iran has the capabilities. Okay, but what about their allies? They allied with Russia and China, and we know they both have the technology to most definitely make stuff happen. So what about that? You know, they grouped up with China and Russia. What we thinking?
Of this action. One final word tonight about the practicalities, Clive, for Britons in the region. The Foreign Office setting up what it calls its Register Your Presence system for British nationals in the region, so the government here knows where Britons are and can keep in touch with them.
Chris, thank you for that. Chris Mason, our political editor there in Downing Street. Well, the strikes on Iran follow months of tension in the region. Since the start of the year, the US has been building up its military presence in the Middle East, the largest deployment since the Iraq War of 2003. Thousands have been caught up in the violence, including tourists across the Gulf, as Frank Gardner now reports.
War has touched Dubai. Scenes like this one, a luxury hotel in the Palm hit by an Iranian missile, have shocked residents and tourists alike in the normally tranquil Emirates.
It's been really, really shocking, and then it's kind of built up over the day, and unfortunately debris has landed on the Palm, which is about a mile away from where I live, and I actually could see from my balcony the black plume of smoke rise.
Iran is lashing out at many of the Gulf Arab states that host US bases. This is in the UAE. And this is Bahrain, residential buildings hit by low-flying explosive drones. So far, casualties have been minimal, but Gulf states will not forgive Tehran for this.
Did y'all hear him? We have been using drones in this attack, guys. Some of the first ones that we have used, according to the news, we have been using drones in attacks in Iran.
Offshore, President Trump's armada sits poised for an extended campaign. 2 carrier strike groups and over 200 warplanes, enough to sustain hundreds of air and missile strikes on targets in Iran for days, maybe weeks. On paper, this is a very uneven fight, the US and Israel against a weakened and unpopular regime in Iran. But that regime has been surprisingly resilient, despite having almost no air force to speak of, and it's been hitting back with whatever weapons it still has. It's been firing missiles like these at Israel and its Gulf Arab neighbors, with some getting through. The race is on for the US to hit those Iranian launchers before more missiles fly. Iran has announced it's closing the Strait of Hormuz, potentially choking off a key shipping route for global oil and gas exports. And this AI propaganda video, made by the Revolutionary Guards, imagines a mass drone and missile
They said this video is AI
attack, crippling a US aircraft carrier. That is still an aim, and it's still a nightmare for the Pentagon. Frank Gardner, BBC News.
This is crazy,
well,
guys.
Successive US presidents, while they have desired regime change in Iran, they have feared a long, protracted, drawn-out confrontation, and so they've shied away. Donald Trump tonight believes overwhelming air power with America's ally here in Israel can win the day and topple an obdurate leadership that has long regarded the US as the great Satan. But spare a thought for the many millions of ordinary, courageous Iranians caught in the middle, brutalized by a repressive ruling class and military apparatus. They do have the courage, but will they be able to rise up and ultimately decide their own future? That's it from me.
All right, so that was the current situation going on over there, guys. Now, a lot of people are like, what was our main intentions of going over there in the first place? Let's find out.
Has began, and you have some insight on what may have been some of the initial targeting.
That's right, Griff. But before I get to those initial targets, we can confirm that there were sirens not only in Bahrain, but also Qatar. That is significant because it suggests incoming missiles into both of those countries where the U.S. military has key bases. In Bahrain, of course, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. We are hearing reports that there is smoke rising on the horizon in the vicinity of that base. We also understand that, you know, again, Qatar would be a logical target because Al Udeid would be the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East. They obviously have removed a lot of the airframes and warplanes from that base in anticipation of this. Americans who are living in Bahrain, UAE, Qatar have been told to shelter in place, and the U.S. military had dispersed a lot of its personnel. Remember, there were about 30,000 to 40,000 American troops at bases across the Middle East, but the U.S. military over the last 2 months have been drawing down and reorienting those individuals. Now, here are some of the targets that we can confirm in these dozens of strikes that have taken place in the last 3.5, 4 hours. The Iranian parliament was targeted. The National Supreme Council was targeted. Ministry of Intelligence, Iranian Atomic Energy Agency. Cyber attacks have taken place on news agencies such as IRNA, which is the state-run news organization. The internet is out in Iran, as far as we know, so it's going to be very difficult for civilians in Iran to get the information about what's occurring right now. There are unconfirmed reports that Iran's defense minister was targeted, as well as the head of the judiciary. That would be significant because the head of the judiciary would have delivered many death sentences, thousands of death sentences to protesters over the years. So
this is scary, guys.
Would be logical that he would have been a target. But what's clear, Griff, from these initial strikes is that this is an attempt at regime change. We've talked in recent days about how broad would this mission be? Would it be only the nuclear sites? Would it be the nuclear sites plus the ballistic missile storage sites, which Israel was very concerned about and had pressed the U.S. to include as part of the targeting? Now it is extremely clear that this is a targeted, the strikes are targeting Iran's leadership, including the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who Lucas Tomlinson was reporting.
Let's continue to work on that like button, guys. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Get the likes up, guys. Most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new, as we find out everything going on in the attacks against Iran, guys, by America, where we have Trump saying that basically the supreme leader and others were unalive, and we have Iran saying everybody's okay, and that is not true. I'm just saying that's what's going on as we speak.
Power over 37 years ago. He took over in 1989. He's the longest serving leader in the Middle East, and his compound was targeted in the early hours, and maybe even the first strike that took place. That is symbolic and that is significant. And you heard the president appeal to the Iranian people saying, that this moment is a moment in history that you should seize. After the bombing stops, he appealed to them to rise up, and he said, the hour of your freedom is now. He said, stay in your house until we're finished, but this is the moment that you can take over your government and seize power. That is significant because we weren't sure that this was going to be a regime change operation, but it's very clear from the initial set of targets that that is exactly what it is. Griff.
Jennifer, just as you were starting your reporting there, we're seeing on the wires that Bahrain is confirming the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet has been targeted by a missile attack, and the president adding in that video message that American casualties are a real possibility here as we wake up now and learn of this major joint combat operation between the U.S. and Israel is launched. This could pose a significant threat to Americans in this operation.
I think what's significant, Griff, is that the American people and even the president himself have been used to carrying out some very significant military operations in which there were no U.S. casualties. The operation in Venezuela last summer, the days of striking during the 12-day war, targeting the nuclear sites. It's significant that the U.S. has not put ground troops in the Middle East. So that is a big difference from the 2003 Iraq War. There's been no large buildup of any sort of ground forces. That is not part of the planning or part of the calculation. This is going to be an air and Navy operation. But again, the Iranians, while they may have been stunned and surprised in the initial hours, and it took them about 3.5 to 4 hours before they launched their first missiles toward Israel and now toward the U.S. base in Bahrain and as well as in Qatar, they were likely, the command and control was likely disrupted in those initial hours. There was likely some electronic warfare that caused it so they couldn't figure out which way anything was coming and how to, and then it was difficult to fire those missiles. But now you can expect in the coming hours and days, the Iranians have a large store of missiles, and they have mobile missile launchers in the west. And at the narrowest point in the Strait of Hormuz, it's just 21 miles across. So those cruise missiles can be fired, and ballistic missiles, and it takes literally minutes before they reach their target. So that is very hard to defend against, even if you have Patriot missile defense systems and THAAD missile systems. And so the U.S. military had done a really good job of drawing down at those bases. I doubt there were more than a few dozen people at the Bahrain headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. So again, the president preparing the American people that there could be casualties, and that that's unfortunately a side effect of an outcome of war. But again, the American people have gotten used to having no casualties in these recent, very successful operations that the military has carried out. That may not be the case with this. This is a much different operation involving many, many more troops and airmen and sailors. And it is, very possible there can be accidents as well as strikes by the Iranians. That cannot be ruled out at this point.
And as we learn more, Jennifer, we'll find out exactly how this initial operation started. But I think it was very fascinating that you brought up, of course, the invasion of Iraq in 2003, a ground invasion. And the force posture at that time had 5 U.S. carrier strike groups in the Mediterranean, in the Arabian Sea, and the Persian Gulf. This time we've had 2, the Lincoln in the Arabian Sea and the Ford in the Mediterranean, a different posture. But one thing that we have now that we didn't have then is the technology to advance map some of those defense systems that Iran has, particularly using our F-22 Raptors, seeing that unprecedented positioning of a dozen Raptors sitting on the tarmac and Ovid Air Base in Israel. And talk to me about the technology of how the F-22, the Raptors...
Hold on. It's somebody I'm very interested in hearing from, has just spoken at the United Nations, guys. Hold on real quick. Let me pull this up real fast. Yeah, man, we most definitely want to hear from him. the leader of Iran, guys. This is the U.S.
In the name of God, the compassionate and merciful,
This is the United
I
Nations.
appreciate the Secretary General for his briefing and his contribution to this meeting. We express our sincere appreciation to the Russian Federation and China for supporting the convening of this emergency meeting of the Security Council.
Yeah, I gotta hear from
to
him.
address the manifest aggression committed by the United States and Israeli regime. I also thank those council members, in particular China, Pakistan, and the Russian Federation, who have today taken principled position in condemnation this unlawful act. And it is regrettable that some members of this body, in a blatant double standard, disregarded the flagrant act of aggression committed by the US and Israel on Iran and condemn Iran for using its inherent right to self-defense on the UN Charter. Mr. President, this morning the United States regime jointly and in coordination with the Israeli regime initiated an unprovoked and premeditated aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran for the second time in the recent months, while deliberately attacking civilian populated areas in multiple...
This is from today, guys. This just happened. This is from today. You know, basically, man, listen. I'm anxious to hear what this guy has to say.
Large cities of Iran where millions...
He's the spokesperson for Iran.
...of people reside. As a result of this brutal armed attack, hundreds of civilians have been killed and injured. The aggression and atrocious crime of the United States regime and the Israeli regime and the deliberate and persistent targeting of civilian infrastructure are going. In addition to the numerous civilian residential buildings, the aggressors have also targeted a school in the city of Minab, Hormozgan province, killing more than 100 children. The number of innocent civilians continues to rise. This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime and a crime against humanity. Yet today, once again, the representative of the United States, through a regrettable pattern, has attempted to distort facts and rely on misinformation to justify the blatant aggression of the United States and Israel against my country. The facts, however, are unequivocal. The justification advanced by the representative of the United States today...
We will hear from Iran and we will hear from Israel, guys, on what's going on.
...are illegal and entirely devoid of legal foundation. The baseless allegation invoked to defend this unlawful use of force have no standing under international law. The invocation of preemptive attack claims of imminent threats or other substantiated political claims cannot legitimize aggression. Such claims are unfounded legally, morally, and politically, and they contradicted the clear principles of the Charter of the United Nations. I also categorically reject the assertion made by the representative of France, the United Kingdom, and certain other Western members regarding Iran's peaceful nuclear program. These claims lack a factual and legal basis. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the Israeli regime have openly claimed responsibility for this act of aggression and have explicitly articulated regime change as their objective, an unmistakable admission of their intent to violate Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The President of the United States has falsely described this aggression as necessary to neutralize an imminent threat to the American people. This is nothing more than a deliberate attempt to mislead the international community and the U.S. public opinion and manufacture consent for unlawful war. Similarly, the representative of the United States has cynically sought to mislead this council, yet history provides ample documentation that the foreign policy of the United States has repeatedly relied on unlawful force, covert intervention, and political manipulation to alter the governments of other member states. This record is well established. The reality is clear and undeniable. What is taking place today against my country by the United States and the terrorist regime of Israel is a blatant act of aggression, a full-fledged violation of international law.
He's saying that he's saying that America broke international law. Y'all think what we needed in Iran. Could we have just had mind our own business without going? I really need to know how y'all feel about this. Are we needed in Iran?
No accusation, no narrative of disinformation can legitimize or excuse this manifest crime and aggression. Mr. President, we have communicated on several occasions with this Council and the Secretary General about warmongering statement and interfering actions in the internal affairs of Iran by the President of the U.S. in a blatant violation of the UN Charter and international law, and called for the Council action. Regrettably, all were unanswered. The issue before the Council is straightforward. Whether any member state may, including a permanent member of this Council, through the use of force, coercion, or aggression, determine the political future of another state or impose control over its affairs. International law and the Charter are explicit on this matter. Article 2, paragraph 4 of the Charter categorically prohibits the threats of use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Mr. President, against this backdrop, I would like to make the following points. 1. What is occurring against my country is a clear act of aggression. It is an open armed aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States and Israel war today is not merely a war against Iran. It is a war against the Charter of the United Nations, a war against international law, and a war against the international legal order upon which the United Nations and the Security Council have been built for over 8 decades. As the Charter affirms, the United Nations was established to save succeeding generations from a scourge of war. The Charter, adopted in 1945, is founded upon this fundamental principle. Members shall refrain from threat or use of force in international relations. The sole exception is the inherent right of self-defense under Article 51, and only in the event of an armed attack. The military aggression carried out by the United States and Israel satisfies none of the criteria of lawful self-defense. Accordingly, the action of the United States and Israel constitute a manifest violation of Article 2, a peremptory norms and a fundamental principle of international law accepted by all member states. Neither the Charter nor international law recognize internal matters of states as justification for the use of force by other states, where this otherwise no.
Do y'all feel like America was wrong for attacking Iran? Because according to him, we broke all kind of law, international law, and he feels like that we are wrong for going over there to their country and doing what we did.
International legal order could endure. The rule of law would be replaced by the rule of force. 2. In responding to aggression on large-scale war, the Islamic Republic of Iran is exercising its inherent unlawful right of self-defense under Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. The armed force of the Islamic Republic of Iran are utilizing all the necessary defensive capabilities and means to confront this criminal aggression and deter the hostile acts. Consequently, all bases, facilities, and assets of the hostile forces in the region shall be regarded as legitimate military objective within the framework of Iran's lawful exercise of self-defense. Iran will continue to exercise its right of self-defense decisively and without hesitation until the aggression
He said
ceases in
they
full.
will continue to use self-defense. They said, hey, we didn't start nothing. Basically, the U.S. started with us, and we're going to do everything in our power to defend ourselves.
And unequivocal terms. 3. Iran remains firmly committed to respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its neighboring countries. Under no circumstances will we target the sovereignty, people, or interests of our neighboring countries in the Persian Gulf. Our legitimate response have been directed solely and exclusively at the bases and assets of the hostile government of the United States that operate beyond the control of the host states. Priority has been given to the targets that diminish the aggressor capability and capacity to continue its malign actions. We had previously and formally conveyed this warning to the Secretary General and the Security Council. 4. Despite continuous U.S. hostile policy, we were sincerely and seriously pursuing the path of diplomacy and dialogue to reach a just, fair, and sustainable agreement. Yet, for the second time in the midst of the negotiation, the United States betrayed diplomacy and resorted to force and launched an attack against my country in blatant violation of Charter of the United Nations, brazenly interfering in Iran's internal affairs. They are even calling on the people to riot against their own government. The recent record of the United States toward Iran is equally clear. Since January 2025, the U.S. administration reinstated the hostile approach, including the policy of so-called maximum pressure and economic strangulation through sweeping sanctions. The General Assembly has repeatedly voted by overwhelming majorities against such unilateral coercive measures. The objective of these illegal measures has been transparent, unconditional surrender. Despite repeated warning by Iran to the Secretary General and the Council regarding serious violation of the Charter by a permanent member, the Council has regrettably failed to discharge its primary responsibility, allowing the erosion of the rule of law in favor of the rule of force. 5. Just as the Israeli regime succeeded in dragging the United States into the quagmire of war with Iran, the United States in turn is deliberately seeking to expand the scope of the conflict by exploiting its bases in the Persian Gulf region. The hostile U.S. government dream of swallowing Iran and forcing the Islamic Republic of Iran into submission will never be realized. This war, before being a contest of military equipment and advanced technologies, is a battle of wills, and in that battle, the Islamic Republic of Iran will prevail. Furthermore, the Islamic Republic of Iran has repeatedly affirmed its commitment to diplomacy and negotiation. However, it will never submit to pressure, coercion, or force. Diplomacy has rules and principles. It cannot coexist with aggression. 6. The duty of Council members is to defend international law and specifically the Charter. They are not called upon to judge the political system of states, nor to determine whether military aggression or economic siege leads to freedom or domination. Expression of concerns and empty condemnation are not sufficient. The Council must act. Pursuant to Article 39 of the Charter, the Security Council must immediately determine the United States and Israeli regime have committed an act of aggression and demand the immediate cessation of its unlawful use of force, including any explicit or implicit threats against Iran, and require binding assurance of non-repetition.
Somebody down there said they need to focus on making rugs. Lord have mercy.
affirm that the United States and Israeli regime bear full international responsibility for all materials and moral damage inflicted upon the infrastructure and facilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran and are obligated to provide full reparation. Let me conclude, Mr. President, with a simple and undeniable truth. Israel and the United States have attacked Iran. They have violated international law and the Charter of the United Nations. They must be held accountable.
Accountable.
So long as this aggression continues, Iran will continue to exercise its inherent right of self-defense firmly, proportionately, and without hesitation until the aggression ends. The Security Council must act now and stop this act of aggression immediately. Silence is complicity in this crime. I thank you.
Woo, Lord. Okay. So we heard from the ambassador. Now we got to hear, you know, basically what Israel thinks about all of this, since they have partnered with America.
I thank the representative.
After he spoke his piece, then Israel got to speak their piece. Let's go.
The Islamic Republic of Iran for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Mr. President, for 47 years, the Islamic regime in Iran has led crowds in chanting March bar Israel, March bar America. Mr. Iravani, do you want to translate these chants? Your leaders have been chanting it for years.
He say, hey, he asked him, do you want to translate for the people? You know, basically what that means. Look at your boy face right here. He like, oh man, they done brought this up. Ah, you done brought this up. Watch him. Watch his eyes.
Your leaders have been chanting it.
Hey, your boy like, man, what? Man, why you bring this up?
Translate these chants. Your leaders have been...
He like, here he go. Oh, man, here he go. Here you go with this nonsense, man. That's what his eyes are saying right now. Like, man, I know you didn't just bring that up. Oh, well, let's let him continue. I just wanted y'all to see that.
Chanting it for years in public events, in your parliament. March bar Israel, March bar America.
What that mean?
They mean death to Israel, death to America.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Israeli and American flags were painted on roads so they could be trampled. Our flags were burned in public squares. This is not the anger of our radical fringe. It is state-sanctioned hatred. And while those March bar chants echoed, uranium was enriched, centrifuges span, missiles were built, facilities were buried deep underground. It was never just empty rhetoric. It was preparation for action. But today, alongside our ally, the United States, we act to stop it. Israel stands before you today, having acted with the United States to confront and stop an existential threat before it became irreversible. The operation targets nuclear infrastructure, ballistic missile sites, the machinery of repression that fuels terror across our region. We did not act of impulse. We did not act of aggression. We acted out of necessity because the Iranian regime...
So if you're missing what he's saying, he basically said, hey, we did it because we had to. We did it. He's taking accountability. We did it, and we did it because we had to.
Left no reasonable alternative. This joint effort will continue for as long as the threat remains. We thank President Trump and acknowledge the close cooperation between Israel and the US, which has brought the alliance between our countries to an all-time high in peace and in war. Let us be clear about what we are confronting. This regime has built nuclear weapons in blatant disregard of international law and UN resolutions. It has brutally murdered its own citizens and crushed dissent. It's happened now as we speak in cities in Iran. It has expanded missile arsenals and armed proxies across the region. It has openly declared its intention to erase Israel from the map. Now, as it faces consequences, it is launching missiles and drones across the region, endangering the UAE, where a Pakistani citizen, unfortunately, was killed. Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Iraq. As we speak, in the last hour, a rocket targeted the city of Tel Aviv. Civilians, they don't target military bases. Civilians struck a building in Tel Aviv. An innocent woman was killed and 21 people were injured. This is a regime that destabilized.
He said while they were recording this, you know, basically a missile hit Tel Aviv and unalive people, 21 people, he said. I think America needs to get their nose out of these folks' business.
Wherever it reaches, it spreads violence outward while crushing freedom at home. It is not reacting, it is expanding. It is a machinery of radicalism that does not recognize borders. Mr. President, diplomacy was exhausted. Iran was required to stop enriching uranium, stop heavy water projects, stop developing nuclear-capable missiles, and allow full inspections. Iran did none of it. Instead, it fortified its nuclear facilities so we cannot get to them, accelerated missile production.
I just want everybody in the building to know, man, we are 20 subscribers away from 61K. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, man. We need 20 more people to subscribe to hit 61K subscribers, guys. Shout out to everybody that's been subscribing and hitting that like button.
And continue to fund terror. Since the last operation in the summer, they spent billions on the proxies. The resolutions were clear. The strategy was just as clear. Delay, delay, delay. But we will not be played. And it's simple what they were planning. They were building the means to corner us, to force an...
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank all you real people out there, man. We just hit 61K subscribers, guys. We most definitely are moving it on up, man. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. We just hit 61K subscribers, man. Shout out to everybody in the building.
Irreversible reality.
Thank you, Dominique.
With our backs against the wall. That is not a future Israel will accept. No responsible nation should. This operation is guided by clear objectives. Eliminate immediate threats, dismantle the nuclear program, destroy its ballistic missile production, neutralize naval threats, break the proxy network that destabilizes the region. The operation was carried out in order to protect the people of Israel within the framework of the ongoing armed conflict between Israel and Iran, in line with the UN Charter and in accordance with international law. Our forces stand ready to stop extremism armed with nuclear weapons. To the soldiers of the IDF, our boys and girls, my son, my daughter, we salute you. You stand like lions defending our people. An entire nation stands behind you. We have heard the condemnation from few member states, from the Secretary General, but we all know that escalation did not begin today. It began when Iran armed proxies and exported terror, expanded missiles and drones, advanced its nuclear program in violation of its commitments, turned on its own people, beating, imprisoning, executing. Where was the outrage of the UN? Where were the consequences?
Let's go.
Now, Israel acts to prevent an irreversible threat, and the condemnation is immediate. This is the definition of hypocrisy. Some call this aggression. We call it necessity. We call it survival. Mr. President.
Shout out to Straight Baller for being a member for the last 16 months. Says thank you to everyone that helped us get there already to that 61K. Shout out to everybody that subscribed, guys. I appreciate y'all.
History has taught us never to ignore those who openly call for our destruction. When a regime says it will destroy Israel, when it chants death to Israel, when it promises to wipe Haifa and Tel Aviv off the map, we believe it. We genuinely believe it. When we see those hundreds of ballistic missiles that they are launching to Israel, we believe the threats. We do not ignore them. We do not gamble with our survival. We act. Now let me address the brave people of Iran. You are not.
I agree, official. This is very bad.
Our enemies. This operation is not directed at you. It is directed at a regime that has silenced you, imprisoned you, and invested in missiles and uranium while your economy suffers. You deserve better. It is this regime, the Basij, the Revolutionary Guard, who have dragged your country into isolation. The world does not fear a free Iran. It fears a radical regime armed with nuclear weapons and driven by extremism. Your future should not be defined by those who chant for death. As President Trump had said, the Iranian people deserve dignity, security, and the chance to shape their own destiny. We are thinking about you. You are seen. You are not alone. The future of Iran belongs to its people. We stand with you. Mr. President, this week, Jewish families all around the world celebrate Purim. Many Israelis will do so now in a bomb shelter. The story of Purim.
I'm gonna get me a bunker too. I'm gonna get me a shelter, a bomb shelter, man. This is crazy.
Happened more than 2,500 years ago, in the same place. In ancient Persia, an evil minister by the name of Haman sought to wipe out the Jewish people. And it began with words, with chants. It became a decree. It could have become a genocide. But Queen Esther refused to remain silent. She stepped forward, she spoke up, she acted before it was too late. That is the lesson we learned. It is not only an ancient lesson, it is a modern one. Last week, I stood at the gates of Auschwitz with dozens of UN ambassadors. We stood in a place that shows what happens when radicalism and extremism grows and no one stops it in time. Before the Holocaust, some leaders, serious leaders, believed that they could calm aggression with concessions. They were completely wrong. Giving in did not stop evil. It strengthened it. Winston Churchill understood what Queen Esther understood long before him. When destruction is declared, and weapons are being prepared and assembled, leaders must act, not later, now. Today, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu understand that same lesson. For decades, the Iranian regime has built missiles, enriched uranium, armed proxies, and spread terror far beyond its borders. This regime is not only Israel's enemy. It is an enemy of stability, an enemy of every peace-loving nation. In this joint operation, Israel and the US are acting together, not because we see conflict.
All right, so we heard from the Israeli ambassador, guys, who basically says, hey, Israel is not wrong. They have partnered with America, and we're most definitely going to do everything in our power to basically take out Iran, guys. All right, so this is the official report on them working together, guys. It says U.S. and Israel launched joint ongoing operation against Iran, guys.
Things we're seeing on video show that this is quite extensive. It's leadership, it's missile sites, it's the nuclear sites. Several of the naval bases around the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean have been hit. The president clearly is calling for regime change, and so the U.S. and Israel are doing everything they can to bring down that regime, taking away all of the tools of oppression and the tools of the state.
Trump versus Iran was not just a political, it was economic warfare, military accusations, cyber war, and the assassination level conflict. It represents one of the U.S. most dangerous U.S. confrontations in decades. All right.
That have held the Iranian people captive for so many years.
And we're looking at images from earlier when those strikes occurred in Tehran. And again, President Trump a short time ago, along with Benjamin Netanyahu, issuing a statement, both of them sounding in chorus, talking about how they want to change the regime in Iran, talking directly to the Iranian people. As we know, many protesters in the last few months in Iran have been killed as a direct result of the regime.
I have no idea what this scrabble says. Don't give me the line, Miss Pooh Bear. I don't know what that said. They might be talking about our mamas. Ain't no telling.
Crackdown. And Steve, give us an idea about the military buildup that's been going on in the region for the U.S. there and what their might is in the region.
Yeah, the U.S. has conducted, Michelle, an unprecedented military buildup. So almost half of all of the deployable U.S. air assets are now in the region. Interestingly enough, there's only one aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean. There's another aircraft carrier that's almost off the coast of Israel. But you would think that if this was going to be a long-term, multi-day event, that the U.S. would probably move that other aircraft carrier into the Red Sea to just because it's closer to Iran. So it's a joint Israeli-U.S. operation, so U.S. aircraft will be able to operate from Israeli bases, and they will fly over Iraq to get to Iran. So an extraordinary display of air power that only the U.S. could do, U.S. Naval and U.S. Air Force air power. So it's going to be a campaign that's going to rely on those aircraft and cruise missiles for the coming days.
Steve, we're going to go to Ian Pannell, who is taking shelter in Tel Aviv after those strikes. The whole region of Israel is under a state of emergency. Ian, give us an idea, set the scene there. There were sirens earlier. You are now taking shelter.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we haven't heard this, certainly not since...
He is taking it with a bulletproof vest. Lord, have mercy. In shelter with a bulletproof vest. This is not good.
Last June, when the last military operation took place involving Israel, the US against Iran, we had a pre-notice, if you like, that there was a launch in the direction of Israel. It wasn't clear which city it was aimed at, and then literally just about a minute or so ago, the haunting sound of the air raid sirens rang out across a very quiet Tel Aviv, and as you can see, we've taken shelter in the stairwell. A lot of Israelis have shelters at home. Not everyone does. Larger buildings do as well, and Israelis are very used to this from Hamas attacks in the past, as well as Iranian ballistic missile attacks, and everyone seems to know what to do. But I think this is just a sign of what things are going to be like over the coming days and weeks. And normal life here, for now at least, is suspended, as it is clearly in Iran. And we have to wait and see. The Iranians said very clearly before this military operation was launched that they would respond, they would retaliate against US assets in the region. We've seen a drawdown of embassy staff. You can hear that's the sound of the alert that everyone gets on their mobile phones.
Yeah, that sounds like an Amber Alert.
Yeah. You see, it just kind of rings out so everyone knows that there is an alert, there's an air raid siren, and that means potentially that missiles are coming this way.
Everyone's been told across Israel that there is a state of emergency to heed those warnings. You are doing that in the shelter. We just heard from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just a short time ago in a statement. It followed President Trump's statement, but they both seem to be in lockstep with the operation.
Yeah, exactly. And we're hearing that they have been working together in lockstep, as you describe it, for months now, planning this military operation. An operation of this kind clearly takes an enormous amount of pre-preparation, not just to coordinate together, but to decide what the targets are. It's widely believed that Israel has intelligence assets on the ground. It was thought that was the case before the strikes that took place in June last year. And in many senses, this is certainly for Israel, from an Israeli perspective, this has strategic importance. Israel is definitely within range of Iran's ballistic missiles. The idea of Iran developing any kind of nuclear device, even though it says that's never been its intention, would clearly threaten Israel more than the United States. I think the difficulty for President Trump has been to try and portray these dangers as dangers also faced by the United States when, frankly, Iran's missiles can't reach the US. But I think for Israel, this is, in some senses, a process that began on October 7th, 2023, of dealing with what it regards as existential threats, dealing with Hamas in Gaza, dealing with Hezbollah in Lebanon, dealing with the Houthi rebels in Yemen, and now dealing with the Iranian regime. We thought, I think many of us thought, that this would be a much more limited operation that would be targeting Iran's ballistic missiles in particular. It's believed to have something in the region of 2,000 to 3,000 long-range ballistic missiles. The short-range missiles are certainly capable of hitting US bases and other US allies in the Gulf. But this looks like something much, much bigger. I mean, Mossad, the Israeli spy agency, has also sent a message out to the Iranian people, as has President Trump. They seem to be going for regime change. They seem to be hoping that they can target, they can weaken, they can diminish the Iranian regime and its brutal security apparatus that's been responsible for thousands and thousands of deaths, certainly back in January, when people dared to go on the streets and call for change. We saw protests emerge again just in the last week, and now it looks like President Trump said, you've asked for help from the United States, and that help is coming. And the Israelis, a harder sell from the Israelis for many reasons, but they're also trying to make that same case, that it will firstly make the homeland safer for Israel, but it will also help the Iranian people.
About this second wave of strikes that are going after Iran. We were looking at images as you were talking from Tehran with billowing smoke in the air and people out in the streets. And again, you said President Trump as well as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urging people in Iran to rise up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to watch what happens. I mean, President Trump urged people to take shelter indoors for obvious reasons, because we know that these strikes are going to go on for a long time.
Trump said, hey, man, if the people truly wanted to be free over there, you know, this is the time to stand up, basically, is what he's saying. They have been told to stand up. Iran's resolution strategy is built around pain plus deniability, economic shock, and religion. This I can't even see it. Hold on, let me blow it up on here on my end so I can see what is being said over here. Shot needs to defeat the U.S. I can't see it. It's too small.
These are incredibly powerful, deadly munitions that are being launched at Iran right now. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see whether this acts as a cue for the people who took to the streets, the people who risked their lives to then try to seize power. But it will not be easy. It may even be fanciful. All power, all means of violence, in other words, all arms in the country are controlled by the regime. The opposition doesn't have any kind of arms, it doesn't have any kind of weapons. And I think people should be looking for, will there be any kind of split in the Iranian armed forces, in the security forces? That's the kind of thing I think that people have been looking for, where people realize that the game is up, that the regime is going to fall, and now is the time to jump ship and possibly ally themselves with protesters for now, but probably maintain power. We're in a whole world where the outcome really can't be predicted. Anything could happen right now. And I think certainly the challenge for President Trump...
All right, I see it now. It says Iran's retaliation strategy is built around pain, deniability, economic shock, regional destabilization. They don't need to defeat the U.S. military. They aim to make the conflict politically, economically, and globally unbearable. Okay, let's go.
Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu is, what are the clear metrics here? How do you measure success?
And again, President Trump signaling that these
You can't break me, boy. I am far from blind. The words are just too small and it was blending in with the screen. I couldn't see it. You know what I'm saying? I had to wait for it to get to a different part to where I could see. Shout out to Jay Stevens for being a member for 17 months. Man, salute to you and IGT already, man. Salute to you, Jay Stevens. Shout out to you for being a member.
Going to be widespread operations. We're going to go to Steve Ganyard now. Ian, stay with us, stay safe where you're at, and we'll come back to you if we can. Steve Ganyard joining us. Steve, we've been talking about all night
And
about...
Raven, you better chill before I get you up out of here. Have you ever been deported? Today'll be your day.
This military buildup, and Ian was talking about how
what's up, Gigi?
There's a lot of variables now that we're in it, now that the president has announced that this...
Oh, that's the cookie lady over here causing trouble. Shout out to the gift from Miss Pooh Bear. That's the cookie lady over here causing havoc. We'll get you up out of here. Won't be no cookies over here for nobody. We'll get you gone. Yeah, just know that. Shout out to Karen for the gift. I appreciate it.
Could be a long and protracted operation.
Yeah, and what that means, Michelle, is that there are lots of targets that the U.S. and Israel need to hit if they think that they're going to at least set the stage for regime change. And that includes not just military targets, but we've seen some targeting of the Besiege, which is sort of the paramilitary force that...
Baldy? You don't answer Baldy. Did you say Baldy? Yeah, let's go ahead and get her in timeout. You know, you got put in the detention center. We ain't going to even just deport you. We just going to put you in a detention center. Put her in timeout for 5 minutes. I don't know who she thinks she playing with.
Has been responsible for most of the crackdowns for many of the murders of the Iranian citizens on the street.
Did you say absolutely not? I know you didn't say absolutely you wasn't doing it. Let's get you in there with her. Y'all go sit in the detention center, you know, and think about what it is that y'all just came over here and tried to do. Yeah, we're going to get you in there too, IGT. How you like that?
The U.S. appears to have gone after some naval targets that mean that the Iranians can no longer control the Persian Gulf, or at least threaten oil shipments through the Persian Gulf. So a very wide range, not just nuclear, but a wide range of targets that will be necessary if the U.S. does hope to change the regime and to allow the Iranian people to rise up and take control of their destiny.
You know, this is unprecedented, of course, in decades of the Iranian...
Right, Xfinity. Give them time to think about what it is they just done.
...regime being in charge. Do you see anything... We've seen the buildup happen publicly. Do you think the timing of this signals that the U.S. and Israel and other allies in the region have information that's not necessarily public for why they would go so big?
Yeah, apparently some of the reports we're getting, Michelle, out of Tel Aviv and out of Jerusalem are that the U.S. and the Israelis have been planning this for months. So as we've seen in the past, Israeli intelligence on the ground in Iran is extraordinary. You remember some of those pictures earlier where some of the leadership was killed in just individual apartment buildings and be able to hit individual bedrooms. So that level of intelligence the U.S. does not have, and the Israelis do. So what we're seeing in Tehran is probably these decapitation strikes hitting the leadership where where parliament is, where Khomeini may have been.
I don't even know. I don't even like the name of the strikes, guys. They call them decapitation strikes. I don't even like the name of them. You know what I'm saying? But anti-who, guys? You know what I'm saying? Anti-who before they can come back. You know, there's most definitely a situation taking place right now as we speak in Iran with America launching many strikes, y'all. One of which strikes is reported to have taken out the supreme leader. Iran says it's not true. I don't know which one to believe. I tend to go with the U.S., news, but after hearing both of them, hey, until it's confirmed. Trump already confirmed it. He said they took him out. But Iran is refusing to basically admit that this is so. So until I see, them basically come across and say, basically their supreme leader has been taken out, I'm going to just say, it's up in the air right now, whether it's true or not. But if you seeing what's on the screen, it says, as of February 28th at 2 p.m., that it has been confirmed that basically the supreme ruler, whatever his name is, Ali, is basically been taken out the game, guys. Now, we don't stay here all night. So, I'm currently pressed for time, but I appreciate everybody who pulled up, everybody who subscribed to the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Most definitely double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device. That's how you hit the like button. Or you can click the three dots, hit that thumbs up. It most definitely helps out the channel, man. Shout out to everybody who rocked the whole 2 hours, man. Shout out to everybody who gave a piece of information or a thought, about this whole entire situation. I asked y'all, basically, do y'all feel like we are needed in Iran? Some said yes, some said no. We most definitely got a house divided at this time. As they keep me updated with the latest and breaking, I will most definitely keep y'all updated with the latest and breaking. Make sure you turn on your notification bell to all so that you don't miss a thing when it comes to everything news, because we most definitely will be reporting it as it's happening, guys. Shout out to my new members as well as the old ones. We currently hit 61K subscribers today. I am very thankful. Shout out to y'all for everybody who subscribed to the channel. Shout out to my members. I seen some of y'all got long-standing memberships as far as this page has been monetized. I most definitely appreciate y'all as well. And most definitely big shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat running smooth. I know sometimes it can get a little outrageous out there, but y'all most definitely keep it in line, and I appreciate y'all. Don't ever let anyone say that I don't, man. Shout out to all my watchers. We most definitely may come back later with more details, or even to report on the disappearance of Miss Nancy Guthrie. I think that we are in day 28, guys, of her missing, man. Yeah, man. Condolences or prayers for her family, either way it goes, but we're most definitely keeping an eye on it all, y'all. Shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all. And with that being said, Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be safe. I'm gone. At least I thought I was gone. Goodness, I be having to end it. And I got things that are in the way. Hold on, guys.